Reconnaissance and Footprinting. In this chapter we dive into reconnaissance and footprinting, the information gathering phase of ethical hacking. We'll cover passive and active techniques, important tools, data sources like WHOIS and DNS, scanning basics, OSINT methods, and legal, ethical rules. By the end you'll understand how attackers gather intel and how we defend systems by simulating that process responsibly. Learning objectives. By the end of this chapter you will be able to explain passive versus active reconnaissance, use WHOIS and DNS for domain intelligence, perform safe network discovery and port scanning basics, identify open source intelligence resources, and apply legal and ethical safeguards before testing any target. These skills prepare us for controlled vulnerability discovery later. Why reconnaissance matters. Reconnaissance is the foundation of any security assessment. It tells us what exists, what's exposed, and where to focus. Good reconnaissance reduces wasted effort and reveals risky services, misconfigurations, and publicly exposed data. As ethical hackers, our goal is to map the attack surface responsibly so defenders can prioritize fixes. Ethical and legal ground rules. Before any scan or data collection, always have explicit permission. Use written authorization or a rules of engagement document. Respect privacy and data protection laws. If you find sensitive data unintentionally, pause and report per the agreed process. Ethical behavior keeps our tests legitimate and protects everyone involved. Passive versus active recon, quick comparison. Passive reconnaissance collects information without touching the target directly, think public records, search engines, and archives. Active reconnaissance interacts with the target, DNS queries, port scans, or banner grabs. Passive is lower risk but less detailed. Active yields deeper insight but must only be used with authorization. Common passive sources. Public sources include search engines, archive pages, social media, certificate transparency logs, WHOIS records, DNS records cached by public resolvers, and public code repositories. These sources reveal domain ownership, subdomains, employee names, and historical configurations, often enough to plan the next steps. WHOIS and domain intelligence. WHOIS reveals domain registration info like registrar, creation date, and contact details, when not privacy protected. That data helps trace ownership and related domains. Use WHOIS for context and to identify registrant contacts for responsible disclosure. Remember, many domains now use privacy services, so WHOIS may be limited. DNS enumeration basics. DNS reveals host names, subdomains, mail servers, and text records. Common techniques include zone transfers, rarely allowed, brute forcing subdomains, and querying public resolvers. DNS records like SPF, DKIM, and MX can expose infrastructure and third-party services. DNS is a high-value source for mapping an organization's footprint. Certificate transparency and subdomain discovery. Certificate transparency logs and SSL certificates can reveal domains or subdomains the organization uses. Searching certificates often finds forgotten subdomains or staging systems. Use these logs to identify targets you may not otherwise discover through DNS or search engines. Active Recon, when and how. Active Recon includes direct queries and probes to the target, DNS lookups, ping sweeps, trace routes, and port scans. Only perform active recon with clear permission and during agreed windows. Active techniques provide precise asset lists and running services but carry risk of detection and disruption if done improperly. Network scanning, goals and tools. Network scanning identifies live hosts and open services. Goals include asset discovery, service enumeration, and baseline fingerprinting. Popular tools include Nmap for host discovery and service probing, and Mascan for large-scale sweeps. Start conservatively, log everything, and throttle scans to avoid overloading systems. Port scanning basics. Open ports indicate running services, HTTP on 8443, SSH on 22, RDP on 3389, and so on. Use TCP and UDP scans appropriately. A common pattern: host discovery, then targeted port scans, then service interrogation. Note that UDP scans are slower and more likely to miss results. Tune your timing parameters responsibly. Banner grabbing and service enumeration. Banner grabbing fetches service headers or responses to identify software and version numbers. That helps find vulnerable versions. Tools like Netcat or Nmap scripts perform safe banner grabs. Avoid sending exploit payloads. The goal here is identification, not intrusion. OS fingerprinting. OS fingerprinting estimates an operating system from network responses and TCP/IP stack behavior. Active fingerprinting is precise but intrusive. Passive fingerprinting uses packet captures or metadata. Fingerprinting directs follow-up testing and vulnerability research, but it must be done carefully and with permission. Open Source Intelligence (OSINT) techniques. OSINT blends passive reconnaissance with targeted searches, advanced search operators, social network analysis, job postings, leaked credentials checks, and public code scanning. OSINT can reveal architecture, technologies, employee emails, and sensitive config files accidentally pushed to public repos. Social engineering, the human vector. Recon also includes people, public profiles, job ads, and team pages reveal targets for social engineering. Ethical testing of social engineering requires explicit, specialized authorization and strict rules. We must never run these tests without clear consent and safeguards. Documenting findings and risk prioritization. Record everything: methods used, timestamps, exact commands, and outputs. Classify findings by impact and exploitability. Publicly exposed admin panels are higher priority than informational DNS records. Clear documentation streamlines remediation and supports transparent reporting to stakeholders. Recap: reconnaissance maps the attack surface using passive and active techniques. WHOIS, DNS and OSINT reveal high-value intel. Scanning and enumeration expose live services to test. Always follow legal and ethical rules. Next steps: review your findings, prioritize fixes by impact, get written permission before further testing, and prepare for controlled vulnerability scanning. Ready to learn more? Visit our website at www.ultramaxtechnologies.com. Subscribe to our channel for the next chapter, follow us on social media for updates, and enroll in our hands-on lab to practice these techniques safely.